Nuts. Nuts. Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I am Mike, and these are my top 10 horror films of the year 2023. Let's get into it. By the way, I'm going to leave out all honorable mentions because I'm going to do my top 10 movies overall of the year. Going to do a tier list ranking every movie I saw this year, so all that will be in there. So make sure you subscribe so you get all that stuff when it comes. Speaking of coming, Infinity Pool. Not yet. Number 10 is going to be Cobweb. Cobweb is a movie that came like a fart in the night, like a soft lady fart, like a pew in the night. Nobody knew it happened. And for some reason, it came out during the holiday season. The studio didn't market it. Nothing. Completely fucking plexed as to why this movie wasn't put out in theaters. I think it would have made a killing. It would have got people talking. Was it perfect? No. But the movie starring Lizzie Kaplan and Homelander himself as these parents who are just creepy as hell. And there's this weird story involving their kid. And you can't figure out what it is until the very end when shit just gets banana sandwich. And the first half of the movie was awesome. It was creepy. It was amazingly acted. Perfect casting all the way around. And the best part about it was the Halloween atmosphere. I mean, this thing just was drenched and just not just, hey, we lit a couple pumpkins and threw them on the fucking porch. This thing was drenched in Halloween atmosphere. Pumpkins everywhere, but just like beautifully shot. It was amazing. The family had a damn pumpkin garden in their backyard. But the second half of the movie, when it barbarians itself and it's like, this is actually what's going on. Wow. I'm talking about they threw the kitchen sink at you and it was full of used condoms. I don't know why that was what I went with. I mean, this is like sitting through dinner with the Queen and at the end Mike Tyson comes in and punches you in the face. It just comes out of nowhere and it's like, oh, this is the movie we're doing now. And the graphics, it felt kind of were very like, oh, okay, creepypasta, this is what we're doing. This is like a horror short all of a sudden when everything's been so perfectly, meticulously planned. It was kind of wild, and also there's some story plots that don't make sense, but it was still fun for the ride, and I would watch it again. It's definitely a Halloween atmosphere movie to watch. Cobweb is my number 10. I liked it. Not perfect, but I liked it. Number 9, M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. This was just a good old-fashioned M. Night film. I think he was obviously doing someone else's work and translating to screen from the book. So that takes away some of the surprise and what's going to go on here. But I loved how they handled the disaster portions of the film, the way that they would show things, the way that they would piece rate them out. It's kind of the same thing I liked about Leave the World Behind, which I do not consider a full-on horror film, so it's not in this list. But this movie's a lot like that. If it wasn't for the horror trappings that M. Night really put in there, I don't know if you could really even call this a straight-up horror movie, but I think at the end of the day it is. Number 8 is going to be Infinity Pool. Brandon Cronenberg, the son of David Cronenberg, comes back after Possessor with this film, which has had an amazing cast from Alexander Skarsgård, had Mia Goth, fresh off the awesome shit she did in Pearl and X. And it was a dark night in Texas to watch this movie. It was so twisted and fucked up, but man, was it a ride to watch. It's not a movie I'm like, hey, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm feeling good today. The sun's shining, no seasonal depression. I think I'll throw on Infinity Pool and fuck my own day up. It's not the kind of movie you want to rewatch a lot unless you're sick in the head, and I know some of us are, but yeah, all I can ever think is that one camera shot, and the camera's on the ground, and something hits the ground, and just like what kind of a madman does that, Marcy Playground? If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But amazingly acted, twisted, fucked up movie. This is a horror film. I really enjoyed it. Watch Infinity Pool if you haven't, but take your meds first. Number 7 is going to be Sick! Sweet. Dude, what does mine say? Sweet! What does mine say? Dude! Written by Kevin Williamson and Caitlin Crabb, directed by son of Peter Hyams, who used to direct Jean-Claude all the time in badass movies like Time Cop, directs this slasher movie that came straight to Peacock that we didn't get to see in theaters. I wish we had. And I was the first person to say about any kind of quarantine thriller that came out, stop it. You fucking don't do that, because I just lived through that shit. I don't want to watch it in my escapism as well, but it works out really good for Sick because they got to make a slasher movie on the cheap. I love this movie because it's written so smartly, and it is just an old school 90s type slasher movie with no frills, no bells and whistles. It's just a stripped down, clever, well-made slasher movie, and that shit gets me going enough to make this my number 7 movie in my top 10 of the year. I definitely recommend watching Sick if you're a slasher fan and you haven't checked it out, especially if you're a fan of movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, the Kevin Williamson type shit. Number 6 is going to be No One Will Save You. Now, No One Will Save You. This is a movie that is just right up my alley, man. Aliens scare the living tits out of me, and I thought they handled the first half of this movie and the alien situations themselves amazingly. If you think you've seen it all with alien invasion movies, this movie will do that, and they'll do it just as good almost as anybody else has, sans a few great ones, Fire in the Sky. They'll do it as great as many of the other ones have, but then the aliens will evolve and they'll become more and do more shit that you did not see coming, and it's fantastic to watch. It's a great thriller. It is a non-dialogue film. There's only a few spoken tiny logs. There's very, very few lines of dialogue in the movie at all. It's one of those non-dialogue type films like John Woo's Silent Night that just came out. Now, the ending was absolutely terrible. This movie, as good as the first half was, I feel like would have been in my top 3, no doubt. I hated what they did with the ending. I thought they tried to go way too wackadoodle with it and try to be too fancy, and in the end it could have been one of the all-time greatest alien movies of all time. Still made the top 10 of the year. If you're scared of aliens and scared of being abducted by aliens and scared of aliens sticking stuff up your butt, you definitely want to watch this movie. And also, shout out to a movie called Communion with Christopher Walken in it. That's an alien invasion movie that not enough people have seen, and fuck me, is that movie wild. 5, Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead Rise is a movie that started way higher on my list, to be honest with you. I think it was number 2 on my overall for the whole year. I watched it several more times after that. It is a rewatchable movie, and I still love it. I think it kicks absolute ass. There's not a bad Evil Dead movie. I just started to find a whole lot of problems with it that I didn't have before as I watched it further and further, but still, yeah, at the end of the day, what you want in an Evil Dead film is you want gore, you want fun horror, you want laughs at inopportune, strange little times, and you just want to be on a fucking wild ride, and that is everything Evil Dead Rise was. I love what they're doing with the franchise now. I love that they're following the books, and we don't have to follow certain actors. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Bruce Campbell any day of the week, but I love that we can tell new stories and do it this way. I think it's a really cool idea, and you especially get thankful for it when you think about things like what's going on with Scream 7 right now, when we've got this big cast and like they can't get anybody to come back and there's this big huge mess. Evil Dead Rise was a fucking fun horror movie. Number 4 is going to be All Will Be Carved. There will be no leftovers. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is going to be Eli Roth's Thanksgiving is going to be my number 4 movie. Look, is this movie Citizen Kane? No. Does it want to be? Fuck no. And the genius of this movie is that Eli Roth set out on purpose to make, whether you're from the 80s or the 90s, to make this feel exactly like what it was like watching one of those 80s or 90s slashers in the theater back then. Flaws and all. Is it perfect? No. Are there some annoying characters? Yes. But I also think there's some really, just like Scream in a way, there's also some really interesting characters, some characters that are flawed but that you like. You're very interested in which ones survive because some of the characters actually matter to you. Yeah, it's people pooped on it for the dialogue, but most of those scenes, when you look back at them, were meant to have that dialogue because we're showing all these shoppers at Right Mart who were screaming at each other, murdering each other for a fucking waffle iron, and that's the kind of people they were, so that's how they were talking to each other. I think it gets overlooked how good some of the characters in this actually were, and at the very least how surprisingly likable some of the characters were. But at the end of the day, it had tons of gore, it had inventive kills, it was a fun ass slasher movie that made me feel like I was in 1996 in the movie theater again. And now we have a sequel coming out, and we have a holiday slasher to look forward to every few years on Thanksgiving. Hopefully it keeps going. I fucking love Thanksgiving. Number 3 is going to be Talk to Me. This movie actually scared me. It got deep down in my cockles, and it scared me in deep, in guttural fashion in a way movies usually don't do for me anymore. It's hard for me to find that deep, weird feeling, and this one did it for me. It was a fucking awesome movie. It was a cool premise. Could have easily been a Friday night Blumhouse forgettable PG type of movie, but they found that fucking nerve and they sat on it. They sat on its face. Whether it's one scene where the kid just tries to make his own video for that Creed song, you know, should have been dead on a Sunday morning, banging my head, do-do-do-do-do. Or those little glimpses of hell they gave us that were just so short but so fucking haunting. I love this movie. I thought the dread in it was there. I thought they managed to take that A24 like slow burn, but also add it to the Friday night fun kind of movie. And it mixed the two really well, where again, it didn't feel like some empty PG-13 Blumhouse fly-by-night or Conjuring spin-off movie. It had a darkness to it. It had an edge and a bite to it. It's like Barg's root beer because it has bite. Number 2. Scream 6. Scream 6 was at the top of my list for so long. And hey, I know that there's people detractors of this movie. Now, if you read the comments or if you read people talking about it online, especially what's going on with Spyglass and all that right now, you're probably thinking, man, everybody hated Scream 6. They hated the reveal and the killer so much that this is just a disappointing entry in the franchise. Not true. Not true. I don't know why. It's one of those, the angriest or the loudest. And no offense if you don't like it. I'm not saying you have to. That's fine. But I'm saying the consensus is audience scores, everything. When you look across the board, Scream 6 was liked. It was a successful sequel in the franchise. And I disagree not at all with that. I think that the movie was so fun leading up to it. The setting of New York City, it had one of the meanest ghost face. It had one of the most physically capable ghost face. And that showed, whether it was the bodega or him dropping people off ladders 6 floors up in the air and them hitting their fucking heads on the trash cans, or him sticking his knife in people and turning it and making an exact C in them. I thought Ghostface was brutal. I think it had one of the best openings of the franchise, probably the third best opening of the entire franchise for me, with the "now I see something red," and then of course the title drop, or right before the title drop, the "who gives a fuck about movies." Amazing shots. Samara Weaving being in the opening was great. I love the cast. I think everybody did a great job. Chad became one of my favorite Scream characters in this one. Yeah, did it have its problems? Sure. I mean, you can't let people get stabbed 37 times and not die. You know, the whole Quinn fake death thing was just, yeah, not great. I'll be honest with you, not great. I happen to love Dermot Mulroney, Dylan McDermott, Mulder. I like my killers a lot like Timothy Olyphant in Scream 2. I like it when the reveal happens and they go absolutely ape shit and chew up the scenery and have a good time with it. And I thought he was fun as shit. I liked it a lot. I love the soundtrack for it. I thought it was just a fun movie. And when I look at these movies, I'm like, nobody's going to put Scream 6 as their number one, you know, most cinematically amazing movie of all time with the deepest cuts. Maybe not, but for me, it's one of the most, I'll rewatch it more than any other movie on this list. As far as the way Ghostface moved and killed one of the best killers in the franchise, I thought they knocked it out of the fucking park. And I love Scream 6, goddammit, so eat my ass! My number one horror movie of the year, my friends, is the one that almost made me puke, which is literally never happens to me. I did a full commentary for it on Patreon, a first time watch, and literally at the end, I was like, yeah, this is pretty, oh my God, it was bad. You can listen to it. When evil, where evil, why evil lurks. What the, where evil, nope, that was when evil, stupid fucking name. When Evil Lurks is my number one horror movie of 2023. Look, and this movie just fucked with me on a cellular level, deep down. I've only watched it once, and I don't want to watch it again. I will eventually show it to someone when someone's like, man, I want to watch something that's actually scary, you know? You're supposed to be this movie guy. Show me something that'll scare me. I'm like, all right, Steven, get ready to get your butt fucked. And then afterwards, we're going to watch the movie. But no, this movie just, gosh, it's a crazy wild turn on infection movies or exorcist movies, however you want to put it, where these two brothers in this remote countryside happen upon someone who is infected and about to give birth to actual fucking evil, and then it infects everybody, and then they go crazy and they can't die and they kill themselves. It's just a fucked up movie. The scene with the dog and the kids, there's so many, 3 or 4 times in the movie you're like, oh God, no! And it was scary and it was dark and it was twisted and it was well acted, well shot. It's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen in my life. Just for me personally, got in there. It got fucking in there. When Evil Lurks is my horror movie of 2023. Guys, what did I miss in your opinion? Yell at me, scream at me, give it to me good, Roger, down below. Make sure, again, you're subscribed so you get our other lists and our honorable mentions and tier lists and all that stuff. And comment down below, what did I miss? What's your favorite horror movie of 2023? I love your all's fucking faces. I hope you guys have an amazing Christmas. I hope you get everything you want. Santa comes to your house and you don't go into the kitchen to get a glass of milk and find him fucking your mother. And then they make you watch if you want your Christmas presents. I'll never forget.
Here comes that white-faced fucker, an asshole like no other. He's a big old piece of shit. Wants to stab your sister's tits cause he's a white-faced fucker. Loomis can't recover. Dr. Challenge drunk again, sleeping with your sister's friends.
Do you want to know about the darkness?
I said, God damn.
God damn you, faggot!
Halloween never ends, suck my fucking dick, and I don't really care what Blumhouse fucking says. Put him in a box, or suck a fucking cock. You can say he's dead, but we all know he's not, yeah. So let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS.